So originally I wanted to have this episode be on the Michigan State Lottery game show from July 9th, 1999, as was requested in a comment, but I can't find it, so, sorry about that. But I said we were going to have a game show video in the next couple of weeks, so here we are. So today I will be talking about I've Got a Secret, which ran on CBS from 1952 and ran until 1967. It has been brought back a few times, but nothing as long-term as the original run. The show was hosted by Gary Moore, and the announcer was John Cannon. And this is one of those panelist game shows where a contestant comes in and they have to, well, I guess there's no real one definition of panelist game show. There's celebrity panelists that have to help out in the game somehow. In I've Got a Secret, the idea is that the contestant has a secret that the four panelists have to figure out by asking questions. Each panelist has 15 seconds, and if the contestant stumps the panelist in those 15 seconds, in other words, they haven't figured out what the secret is, they get $20 per contestant. It started at 10, but it quickly went up to 20. Now, I'm actually only doing one segment on an episode, and I actually wanted to do the full episode, but I could only find this segment, and I picked this one in particular. And despite the fact that the show lets the audience know at the beginning what the secret is, I'm not gonna have that on here. Instead, what I want you to see when you figure it out, and I would like for you to leave a comment down below with a timestamp of when you figured out what the secret was. Oh, and this is back from the day where things were advertised by cigarette companies.
Well, I can say this. Winston tastes mighty good.
Like a cigarette should.
So, that's a thing. I feel bad for this man. He fell down and got a pretty gnarly welt, and actually the host here almost looks like he's gonna, actually point it out by grabbing it or something.
Don't touch me, motherfucker.
But he realizes, ooh, maybe I shouldn't do that. But, apparently he insisted that he be on the show. Part of me's gotta wonder if I guess CBS kind of had a mafia crew come in and scare him into being on the show. I doubt it. But it'd kind of be a sight, wouldn't it?
Don't touch me, motherfucker.
How old are you, by the way, sir?
96.
96 years old.
So again, four panelists, and we start with Bill Cullen. And again, they ask questions trying to figure out what it is. They do get a hint that it was something that he witnessed, but that's it.
Does it have political significance?
It had political significance at the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you're 96, I would make Mr. Seymour born in 1860.
And Bill Cullen here, he actually asks some good questions. He's able to narrow he's able to narrow things down fairly well.
To do with the Civil War, Mr. Seymour.
No, it had not to do with the Civil... Well, let's say indirectly it was concerned with the Civil War.
Also, using math helped Bill Cullen out a lot. And that's where we're going to use it in real life, on game shows.
Did it concern a famous person, Mr. Seymour?
Yeah.
Yep.
Did this man hold political office?
Did this man hold political office, sir? Yes.
He does not exactly learn the secret by the end of his round. So the contestant here, I forgot his name, Samuel Seymour, he gets $20 for prize money. So next it goes on to Jane Meadows, who figures it out pretty easily.
Mr. Seymour, would this person have ever been President of the United States?
Was he ever president, this man?
Oh, I think it was once.
Would it have been Abraham Lincoln?
It was Abraham Lincoln, yes.
You witnessed something to do with Abraham Lincoln. Was this a pleasant thing?
Was it a pleasant thing you saw, sir?
Not very pleasant, I don't think. I was scared to death over it.
He said, no, he was scared to death.
Would it have had anything to do with the President Lincoln's death, by any chance?
Unfortunately, yes.
Did Mr. Seymour witness the shooting of President Lincoln?
And this is why I wanted to do this segment, because this is actually really neat. This is 1956, and there was still somebody who had witnessed President Lincoln's assassination alive. For context, this was months after the opening of Disneyland. Mr. Seymour did pass a few months after this, unfortunately. But he seemed to... Oh, hey, Lucy's on the panel, by the way. He talked about this. Like, they mentioned a newspaper article on here, which is how they got in contact with him. And the person that uploaded this to YouTube actually has the link to that newspaper in the doodly-doo. So I will read that. But hearing his story about the scenario is kind of interesting, like what he thought was going on. But although he did not stump all 4 panelists, they do decide to give him the full $80, which that's pretty cool. It's the least they can do after they had their mafia threaten him. Okay, so the newspaper article was from the Milwaukee Post. Is that what this was? Oh, the Milwaukee Sentinel, and is titled "I Saw Lincoln Shot," and is dictated by Samuel J. Seymour and written by Francis Spatz Leighton. Oh, and I kind of love how the host, Gary here, he's like, "You're the last surviving witness of this." It's like, you're gonna die. That's kind of like saying, hey, your days are limited.
To have you are, by the way, the only living witness of that tragic event.
Which, again, unfortunately, he only lived a few more months. But anyways, here's the newspaper article. Even if I were to live another 94 years, I'd still never forget my first trip away from home as a little shaver 5-year-old. My father was overseer on the Goldsboro estate in Talbot County, Maryland. And it seems that he and Mr. Goldsboro had to go to Washington on business, something to do with the legal status of their 150 slaves. Oh, crap, this dude's father owned slaves. Yikes. Mrs. Goldsboro asked if she couldn't take me and my nurse, Sarah Cook, along with her and the men for a little holiday. We made the 150-mile trip by coach and team, and I remember how stubborn those horses were about being saddled into an old-fashioned side-wheeler steamboat for part of the journey. Oh, that was loaded, not saddled. It was going on towards supper time on Good Friday, April 14th, 1865, and actually, side note, I had never realized that Lincoln was assassinated on Good Friday. That's something that kind of gets left out of the history books. I mean, it's not really important, but it's kind of one of those interesting things to know, I think. Anyways, when we finally pulled up in front of the biggest house I ever had seen, it looked to me like 1,000 farmhouses all pushed together, but my father said it was a hotel. I was scared. I had seen men with guns all along the street, and every gun seemed to be aimed right at me. I was too little to realize that all Washington was getting ready to celebrate because Lee had surrendered a few days earlier. I complained tearfully that I couldn't get out of the coach because my shirt was torn, anything to delay the dread moment, but Sarah dug into her bag and found a big safety pin. "You hold still now, Sammy," she said, "and I'll fix the tear right away." I shook so hard from fright that she accidentally stabbed me with the pin, and I hollered, "I've been shot! I've been shot!" When I finally had been rushed upstairs, shushed and scrubbed, and put into fresh clothes, Mrs. Goldsboro said she had a wonderful surprise. "Sammy, you and Sarah and I are going to a play tonight," she explained. "A real play, and President Abraham Lincoln will be there." I thought a play would be a game like tag, and I liked the idea. We waited a while outside the Ford Theater for tickets, then walked upstairs and sat in hard rattan-backed chairs. Mrs. Goldsboro pointed directly across the theater to a colorful draped box. "See those flags, Sammy?" she asked. "That's where President Lincoln will sit." When he finally did come in, she lifted me up high so I could see. He was a tall, stern-looking man. I guess I just thought he looked stern because of his whiskers, because he was smiling and waving to the crowd. When everyone sat down again, and the actors started moving and talking, I began to get over the scared feeling I've ever had since we arrived in Washington. But that was something I never should have done. All of a sudden, a shot rang out. A shot that will always be remembered, and someone in the president's box screamed. I saw Lincoln slumped forward in his seat. People started milling around, and I thought there'd been another accident when one man seemed to tumble over the balcony rail and land onto the stage. Hurry, hurry, let's go help the poor man who fell down, I begged. But by that time, John Wilkes Booth, the assassin, had picked himself up and was running for dear life. He wasn't caught until 12 days later, when he was tracked to a barn where he was hiding. Only a few people noticed the running man. Okay, I can't help but picture John Wilkes Booth doing the running man, and that kind of amuses me. Anyways, only a few people noticed the running man, but pandemonium broke loose in the theater, with everyone shouting, Lincoln's shot! The president's dead! He actually died sometime later, but yeah, whatever. Mrs. Goldsborough swept me into her arms and held me close, and somehow we got outside the theater. That night, I was shot 50 times at least in my dreams, and I sometimes relive the horror of Lincoln's assassination, dozing in my rocker, as an old codger like me is bound to do. And this had to have been terrifying for him. I mean, he does say that, of course, but he was 5 years old, and this was the first president who was assassinated. So this was very unheard of for everybody, but a kid especially. That had to have been hard on. And although it does seem a little like I've Got a Secret is trying to profit off of his horrible experience, like I've said, he does seem pretty open to talk about it. And I'm actually glad that this was a moment that got saved in history. It's one of those neat things that happens on game shows, not too crazy often. And we have a moment in history preserved. Okay, so that was kind of short. What should I do now? Screw it, I'm watching Figure It Out. Now, Figure Out was a show similar in style that was on the Nickelodeon channel. They would have kids come in, and the panelists would have to guess their secret. There's a few differences here. Each round lasts 1 minute instead of 15 seconds, and there are 3 rounds. And the panelists do get clues, and there are actually key words that if they say, they appear on the board. And if they do not figure it out, the kid gets a grand prize. So what I am watching today is Figure It Out Wild Style, which, to be honest, I don't remember at all. I actually loved Figure It Out as a kid and watched it all the time, and this would have been right in the time that I was watching it, but I don't actually remember Wild Style. The show was hosted by Olympic gold medalist Summer Sanders, and from back in the day as a kid to this day, I always get Summer Sanders and Suzanne Summers mixed up. It's just the names. Like, I seriously just Googled Suzanne Summers looking for Summer Sanders information. It's something that I don't think is going to stop happening. It's been happening since 97, so... Crap, that's 21 years. My misunderstanding on their names can legally drink now. The panelists in today's episode are Dougie Doug, who we may remember from Cool Runnings, Amanda Bynes, a Nickelodeon regular during that time, Boris Cabrera from the Animorphs television show, and the fourth panelist is Aaron J. Dean from The Journey of Alan Strange, a Nickelodeon show that premiered on their Snick block. And although I did not share the secret at the beginning of I've Got a Secret, I will be doing so here on Figure It Out. Just because, for I've Got a Secret, it's just because the secret was what it was. The first contestant is Midge, who rescues white tiger cubs.
Thank you, Dougie Doug, superstar from Cosby, for coming on the show.
Yes, that's how we want to remember Dougie Doug from Cosby. And I really like Dougie Doug in this. I don't know. I think maybe he should have been on more game shows. Should be. I think he's still alive, right? Yeah, there's this board here, and there are 4 blank spots, and they have to figure out what each of the words are. Rescues white tiger cubs. And they ask questions to which they get yes or no answers, and if they get a no, it goes on to the next panelist. If they get a yes, they can continue guessing. The words appear when they say that word, even if it's out of context. And if they stump them for all the rounds, they get the grand prize. So they actually don't get a lot figured out in this first round. Actually, they get nothing figured out. But oh, we get a clue. Oh, okay. And nobody figures out what this clue's about. And that seems to happen a lot. The clues don't always have anything to do with anything. The thing here is it's white bread, and he rescues white cubs. And is it just me, or does Boris seem like he either really doesn't want to be here, doesn't care to be here, or is just really stoned?
It's a new toaster.
No.
End of round 1, and they do not get any of the clues. And for that, I already forgot the kid's name. He gets a mountain bike.
Take home a Magna 21-speed aftershock bike.
Curtis. And in the next round, if anybody gets slimed, more on that in a second, they will receive a prize. Now back on sliming. They get slimed if they do a certain action. And this is something I watched as a kid. I love this show, and just seeing it is so nostalgic. Seeing the tracks in front of them, seeing the big slime tank on top of them, and I kind of want to know how they did the slime tank effect. Because that's obviously not actually slime. That's a video screen. Was it a CRT? I mean, we weren't really doing LCD screens at the time, so I don't think it's that. Was it a interior projection? I'm actually really curious how they got that. This round we start with Amanda, and is it just me, or does Amanda seem kind of stoned as well?
Do you have anything to do with this?
Like, I'm confident Boris is stoned. Amanda, I mean, she'd be pretty young for smoking weed, but I've known people about... I know somebody that first smoked weed at age 11, so... Wouldn't be that weird, I suppose.
Yes, it is.
The next clue is a fireman holding a cat. And somebody guesses the word rescue.
Does it have anything to do with rescuing cats? Yes. Does it have anything to do with sandwiches?
And it has nothing to do with sandwiches. And Amanda is actually able to figure out that the bread, or the clue has something to do with the bread being white. And now they have the puzzle figured half out. It sits wrong on the ear. Oh, and this N64 thing. I remember seeing this thing all the time. I remember seeing this screen with the N64 and all those games, but why didn't they give them any good games? Where's the Mario? Where's the Zelda? Where's the... I was going to say Kirby, but I think that released in 2000. This episode's from 99?
Blank. Much better than last time. You're halfway there. Over here on the clue recap board.
But yeah, where's the good games? Where's the Mario Kart? And again, Boris just he's totally zoning out here. Just fidgeting with the bread.
1 minute on the
And we start with Amanda again.
You guys ready? Go.
And she gets the next one right off the bat.
Rescues white tiger blank.
Uh-oh. He's fidgeting with his hat.
White tiger cubs.
And he is not having any of this. He tries to avoid that real bad. And Summer Sanders, yeah, that's her name. She actually tries to talk him into sitting still for the slime, but it's just not going to happen. She tries to get him slimed on his head, but according to her, she does not have the power to do that. Oh, and a contestant in the audience gets a prize, which is a figured-out fisherman's hat. And my sister actually went through a phase where she wore fisherman hats. I'd show a picture. I'm not going to violate her privacy like that. Except by saying that she wore them. And unfortunately, he does not get the grand prize of a vacation to Yellowstone. But he does get that mountain bike and Nintendo 64. And they bring one of his rescue cubs out, and this thing is growling.
Huh? What other animals do you work with?
Leopards, black leopards, cougars.
This tiger cub does not want to be here at all. Like, that's mean. Wait, what the hell is this? What? Name that critter? What is this? And actually, you know, I'm going to take this moment here to say this set looks really cheap. I mean, I love the aesthetics of what's behind the panelists and the contestants, so that purple wall with the lights, but just some gold fringe stuff. It looks really cheap. And this girl kind of doesn't seem like she wants to be on here. What she needs to do is name the critter. Each of the panelists give a different name and description for it. She has to guess which one is correct, and if she does so, she wins the fisherman's hat. But she doesn't do that. She goes with Amanda. However, it was Dougie Doug who had the correct answer. Our next contestant is Carrie, who won that thing. Whatever that is, I have no idea. But I'm gonna guess that she's hunting them. And here they have 6 blanks, much harder puzzle. Actually, a much well, puzzle might not be the right word, but the board, yeah, it's a much more difficult board. But let's get started. And Dougie Doug just is zoned out too. I'm kind of thinking the first 3 panelists might be stoned. And they get their first clue, which is a salt lick. And Boris is so apprehensive to lick it. Again, I don't think he wants to be on the show, really. I think maybe Nickelodeon just made him do it. He reluctantly licks it, and salt licks aren't bad tasting. I'm not going to comment further. But Aaron here figures out that it has to do with a deer. I don't know, with a salt lick, I would think maybe horse, cows. They use salt licks, don't they? It's not just deer, but somehow Aaron gets deer right off the bat from the salt lick. But they do not get it this round, so Carrie gets this kayak. And, okay, side note, this has nothing to do with the show. This is more so me. Well, okay, not me, it's my grandmother. My grandmother is crazy, but I love this woman. Wait, when is this episode coming out? Okay, it's coming out the 29th. A few days before her birthday, so, I missed it. But hey, happy birthday, Granny. This woman is crazy, and I love her. She was waiting on a hip replacement surgery. Maybe knee replacement? I think it was hip. And while waiting for the surgery, she freaking bought a kayak. And I remember one time we were at Disneyland, or more particular, Disney California Adventure. We were waiting in line for Grizzly River Run, and she pulled a trash bag out that she had in the backpack, just punched a few holes in it, and wore it as a poncho. Again, I love that lady. And the secret slime action for round 2 and onwards is drinking milk from the carton. So it makes me wonder if they're going to have milk as a clue somehow. Although I don't know why that would be. And this round we start with Erin.
Rescuing deer? No.
But she doesn't succeed. And Dougie Doug gets slimed? I didn't see him drinking any milk. I'm really confused here.
It's very messy over there. Would you like to know what the secret slime action was?
No.
I didn't think so. All right, it's drinking from the carton. Drinking milk from the carton, and obviously Doug does that.
I don't get why. I don't get it.
He's guilty of it. We'll check it out.
And something that just dawned on me, this show kind of had to have been a pain to make, because whereas on something like Match Game, they just, change outfits in between episodes and film several back-to-back. Here they have to, at least take a shower to get rid of the slime. Or only film one episode a day, which would be really, what's the word I'm looking for? Inefficient. And we have our next clue, hard-boiled eggs. Nobody gets this clue.
Does it have anything to do with eggs?
No. How all do you feed it? Is it part of your job? A part of what you've done have to do with creating something to feed it?
That was a great question.
With what you've done, does it have anything to do with creating something to feed it?
To feed it?
That's kind of a messy answer. Almost as messy as the slime. For stumping them in round 2, Carrie gets the see-through TV, which that's kind of cool looking, I think. It doesn't look like it's very big, but it looks cool. And in the 2 rounds, they only have the one word figured out. Round 3, we start with Amanda. And don't ask Boris any questions. He's too involved in his egg right now. And, okay, actually, I guess Aaron finally figured out that the clue here is hard. And with the Charade Brigade, they figure out the word antler, and Amanda figure out the word one. I already forgot what the words were. Is the next one like national? Again, don't ask Boris any questions. He's playing with his
one D hard. No, I.
And now that they've depleted the 3 rounds, they have one final guess each. Dougie Doug knows he doesn't have it. He doesn't care. He's just gonna have fun.
Antler friends.
One African deer hard antler.
Now, what is she playing with there? That bungee? Like that telephone cord thing? But she doesn't get it either.
Okay, one.
And again, don't ask Boris questions. He's stimming on his egg.
Aaron's really thinking about it here. Your final guess.
One youngest deer hard antler.
Nobody figures it out, so she gets the grand prize of a trip to Yellowstone.
Grand prize. We here for Carrie, please.
And this is just like word soup to me. This means nothing. And we actually find out that what she did is that she won a contest for having the largest deer antlers. Or actually, I think in this case it was elk. But I was actually wrong. She does not hunt the deer in any way. They just shed those. And there's a contest of shedded deer antlers, I guess. And, you know, that was figured out. We just have an ending, her talking about it some more. And we have some of the sponsor. Oh my god, I remember this Skechers ad so very well. Oh goodness. And this kid, oh, he does the superhero fall, right? Oh, almost. Yeah, that was figured out. I loved this show as a kid. Like, I adored it. And, looking back, I can see why. And actually, okay, so I try to record my how I react to these videos. I am recreating my initial thoughts, but I have watched these before. I already knew what was all going to happen. But what I did after watching this one for getting the footage, I went and watched another episode. Ooh, I kicked my camera by accident. Oops. So much nostalgia. But I had a lot of fun, watching these. I do wish I can find more episodes online, though. That is a little hard. The 2012 remake, I can find episodes of, but the original seems to be a little harder. And I've never seen the 2012 version. It might be good, it might not, I don't know. But it's not what I'm nostalgic for. So therefore, I don't care. But hey, thanks for joining me, everyone, for this double feature. I really wanted it to be about I've Got a Secret, or in particular, that episode of I've Got a Secret. But Figure It Out was longer. So, this is kind of the Figure It Out episode. But hey, thanks for watching, everyone. If you like this one, like, comment, subscribe. And hey, if anyone knows where I can find that episode of the Michigan State Lottery game show from July 9th, 1999, please leave it in the comments. I would actually love to, I would love to do that, because lottery game shows are fun. Yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Take care. Remember that you are valid. Bye-bye. Oh, that light bulb. But, oh, and that thing. Oh, man.
Studios at Universal Studios.
The shooting of President Lincoln?